So what is the best free accounting and software for construction and real estate? Well, look no further. You've found the source of truth, and the source of truth tells you there's no such thing. I'm sorry. Don't go away yet, though. Stay with me. I have a roadmap to reduce your expenditure and how you can avoid costly traps before you're ever wrapped up into them. So let's dive right in. If you're new to this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate any assistance in helping us get more attention to our content, and we enjoy giving you content like this. But before we hit go, in this video, I talk a lot about construction owners, and that's the language I use. But this video is relevant if you're an office manager, an accounting manager, a CFO, an assistant controller, second or third generation coming into the family business. Basically, if you touch construction financials at all, or real estate financials at all, this video is for you. So I'm going to start out with the biggest cost barrier. The biggest cost barrier to getting a specialized accounting solution for construction and real estate is actually not the software itself, but it is the implementation, aka how you get the software up and running. That's the biggest cost. On the low end, you're going to get a quote for 25 grand. On the high end, you're going to get a quote for, I don't even know, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 plus. The reality is, though, is that somewhere on average, you're going to spend between $45,000 and $75,000 in implementation. And that's a huge cost, and that's a huge expense. Now, if you're getting an estimate or a quote for $25,000, that on the low end, I would be a little bit wary about that because, and I'd actually plan that you're going to just spend double, because that's a very, very low estimate in the traditional sense, which is that billed hourly or that project fixed cost approach. Now, later on this video, way later, actually, I'm going to tell you about our programs here at Vanguard Enablement and Deployment that allow you to get your software up and running on your own timeline at a very predictable cost. That's a monthly cost that you'll be able to just get off up and running on Sage Intacct Construction with no sweat. So now that we're over that, you came to this video because you want free accounting software. Okay, well, I get that. There are two methods to get you as close to free as possible as we can. The first is I'm going to assume that you're a QuickBooks user, or maybe you do have a construction specific application right now. Maybe you have some other generic accounting application, but you're likely having a difficult time costing your jobs and tracking your projects. You're in what I like to call maybe multi-entity or multi-company hell. Or maybe even you've got some union or certified jobs coming down the pipe. You're doing some governmental work and you're kind of waking up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. with cold sweats, trying to figure out how the hell you're going to do payroll. Yeah, well, I've ran into a lot of those, but even down to the real estate side where you're just unable to associate certain projects or certain developments with certain LLCs and track those financials independently of your total company, and then even consolidate them as a whole. The bottom line is if you're watching this video, I guarantee you you're doing and producing a lot of manual entry work in something like Excel or other quasi-free or free platforms. And I've got to say, I've seen a spreadsheet or two in my lifetime that and including myself. I had one that tracked our annual recurring revenue. And it was great. I loved that spreadsheet. I spent an hour on it every day, and you could rip it out of my cold, dead hands, as I always said. However, when I put that into the system, and now it's native in the system, it's set it and forget it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't do it every day, and I know it's going to be accurate when I pull up my dashboard for that particular metric. And that's huge because before, if I made an error, it could be a big error, and we could make decisions on that error, and we don't want that. And so likely you're doing that in your own business today. So number one really is thinking about how the software is actually going to move your business forward. It's going to reduce your time. And number two is think about the labor cost. So I'll give you a typical scenario. A lot of times what we're running into is we're running into an owner and an owner's partner, and they do everything from sales to operations to actually building the darn project, to all of that kind of stuff. They may do $1 million to $3 million a year in revenue, and they want to grow. They want to get bigger. They want to do bigger jobs. They want to do more jobs. They want to grow their company. And the natural thought is to hire another person. The natural thought is to say, hey, let's go out and hire an accountant. Let's go hire somebody to keep our books, all of that kind of stuff. Well, the problem with that is that if you're on manual Excel and you've got a sort of a unique process, or, what we like to think is unique, although it's probably built from a template from Google and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have to train that. And the likelihood is that you're not only training your unique process to that person, but you're also training them on what the construction industry is about, what makes construction financials different than, normal accounting, all of that kind of stuff, right? And you're going to run into some challenges there. What if that person quits? What if that person quits in a couple weeks or a couple months? What if that person just doesn't grasp the concepts that you're getting across? And so a specialized solution for construction real estate is going to allow you to get up and running on something that has a systemic process to it, right? So rinse, repeat. And then you're going to be able to train that out in the future much more easily. And from an owner's perspective, if you're small and you're looking to grow, I think it's awesome that owners are actually going into their accounting solutions and saying, I want to know this. I want to understand it through and through, because far too often I've ran into situations where owners or leadership, they have no clue how to operate their financial system. They have no clue what their financial system should look like. They have no clue what their P&L should look like, to be honest with you. And understanding your system at the deepest level in the setup and configuration is going to help you move your business forward even quicker. So it's going to add fuel to that fire. So think of your software as an investment. You should be getting a return on your investment, whether that's you're eliminating 10 hours a week that you have to spend in accounting. Modern solutions should save you and your partner or anybody else in your business a considerable amount of time. And if it doesn't, then it's the wrong solution. But a specialized construction real estate solution is going to automate processes from AR to AP to projects to payroll, all of that good stuff, to project management with integrations like with Procore and things like that. All of this stuff is going to save you time, headache, pain in the future. So you should be getting a return on your investment, and I guarantee it will happen. So that effectively makes the software free. So whether that software costs $20,000, $50,000, $60,000, I'm going to tell you, you can't hire somebody with specialized skills, with the grit and the tenacity that it's going to take to learn your custom processes for that amount of money. I guarantee it. The second component of this is implementation. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it's a massive barrier. So there's an old way, and then there's the way we do it here at Vanguard. The old way, and by the way, we've been doing this for 40 years. We've been doing construction accounting for 40 years. So we've done it the old way for a long, long time, meaning that it's, typically you're assigned a consultant, you're quoted 200 hours or 400 hours at $250 an hour. You're assigned this consultant. You might be assigned a project team, and they're going to bill time towards your project. If it's a fixed project or a fixed cost, they're also going to bill their time to the project. So if you get a price quote for 45 grand or 35 grand or whatever it is, that isn't everything, just so you know. That's just an estimate. It always is an estimate or a quote. It's not a predictable cost. And what I always tell people is, even though it's crazy to think this way, I would budget almost double what you are estimated in the sales cycle, because there's so many factors in the old way that we can't predict. Whether it's curveballs from the person who sold you the software or it's curveballs from the customer, there's a lot of things that you can't predict. So you will incur change orders. So if you want a customized report, or if you want a customization to your system, all of that kind of stuff within reason, that's all going to be a change order. Now, we knew that this had to be changed, but it couldn't be changed unless we fixed the system itself. And the model of the current model, or the old way of doing things in implementation, it's broken, because that knowledge is like a river. So if you spend time with a consultant or even a project team, you send your accountant and they go there, right? Or they meet online. It's like a river. That person is going to retain the knowledge. What happens when they leave? That knowledge walks away. So what are you going to do? You're going to hire that consultant firm again. The consultancy again, and you're going to keep hiring them as you hire new people. Now, we all hope for the 35-year employee. We all hope for the 40-year employee. We do, truly do. But the reality in this day and age is that that's pretty few and far between, to be honest. So my recommendation is to treat your knowledge as a lake. So instead of this person, coming in, by the way, the equivalent of this, just so you know, to give you kind of a metaphor, it's like if you were to give a company truck to an employee, and then that employee either quits or you have to let him go, and you say, oh, no, go ahead and keep the truck. That's fine. That's the equivalent of what we're talking about. When you pay for an implementation in the old model, not one-to-one or that one-to-many, but at hourly or fixed project cost, what you're doing is you're effectively signing it off and saying they can have that knowledge and I'm paying for their education, their career growth, which is great and very generous of you. However, you want to retain that knowledge as a lake within your company and your organization. You want multiple people to know the ins and outs of the system. That's where Bangert deployment, Bangert enablement plus Bangert deployment come into play. It's our program to get you from 0 to 100 on Sage Intacct for construction and keep that knowledge within your base. So you're going to pay a monthly, predictable monthly cost for access to our enablement and deployment programs, and anybody can take them in your company. So if you want the executive team to take our dashboarding class, they can. If you want your AP clerk just to understand the AP functionality and configuration of the system, they can. So what this does is it fosters somebody in your organization who's thinking and curious and interested in technology and how that can move your business forward. It's going to foster that for those folks. And they're going to be able to go off and really move your company forward, whether that's yourself, whether that's your controller, whether that's your CFO, whether that's, your assistant. I'm serious. I've seen it come from all angles. When somebody's really passionate about technology and you treat that knowledge as a lake versus a river, like, hey, one person needs to know that and that's all, then your business advances forward through and through. So that in a nutshell is what it is. You're never going to get free software, truly free software, but you can if you treat it like an investment. And the second component of that is stop paying these exorbitant fees for implementation. Don't treat your knowledge as a river, treat it as a lake. Get accurate and predictable upfront monthly costs that don't require a change order. And set yourself up, set your construction or real estate firm up for success. My name's Reed Bangert. I appreciate you spending the time with me today. And as always, make it a great one.